Welcome to the BA podcast. We are delighted to be recording from the world's most iconic centers of knowledge, the Bibliotheca Alexandrina, in the historic city of Alexandria, Egypt. Our guest today is a distinguished archaeologist and a leading voice in cultural heritage and international cooperation, Dr. Nuria Sanz, Regional Director of UNESCO for Egypt and Sudan and Liaison Officer with the League of Arab States.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor and it's a pleasure to be always in a very big library. So big libraries are very important for the role of UNESCO, and a lot of memories, World Heritage Sites, but the Alexandria Library has a special kind of expectations in the readers from all over the world. So I think that for the ones that love books and continue loving the paper experience in hand when reading, I think the role and the image and the impact of a library is extraordinarily important. I remember when I was a child, my grandfather used to travel with us, with all the grandchildren, to the main museums as well as the main libraries. So a library, a big library, an historic library has been always like one of my favorite institutions wherever. But I would like to start by telling a story. When I started working at UNESCO more than 25 years ago, I entered into a desk. And a desk is furniture and whatever that is, the kind of a classic furniture in this kind of working spaces. So shelves and a very big table and, of course, a computer and another piece. And I got closer. And when I look at this piece, it was like a model, like a maquette, on a table, on a little table. And when I requested, what is this? It's very interesting, but I have no idea what it is. So this is the project of the Bibliotheca Alexandrina. So since the very beginning, I continue having this souvenir in mind. It was extraordinary, like a chance, and I feel truly lucky just to have this very first encounter. And encounter repeated again because some years ago, our Director General requested me to be the General Manager of the UNESCO Art Collection. It was not a very easy moment. It was a moment of COVID, and we mobilized the opinion, and we really had the opportunity to work with more than 400 extraordinary scholars from all over the world, and we prepared like a special exhibition and a special catalog for the celebration of the 75th anniversary of UNESCO. And Director General asked me to go back to the collection and try to select some pieces and try to merge the ideas of the scholars with the one artwork. And we, at that moment, we recover our maquette, our very wonderful table with the maquette of this building. And it was part of this general and universal memories. And really, it was like a second encounter. And since I arrived here in the 2022, that was one of my first missions when in Alexandria to visit the library and to start thinking about the way in which our office, the Regional Office for Egypt and Sudan, as a liaison as well office with the League of Arab States, could really support the library and be supported by the library. So, and I think, and since that moment, we have reciprocated very well our roles and of course, our commitment and the responsibility. I would like just to underline this role of responsibility to preserve knowledge, to digitalize memories, to continue producing knowledge, and of course to make the very, very good use of the documentary heritage and all the pieces and collections that are a treasure as well as a driver for continuing these intercultural memories and heritage that Alexandria represents for the world.
Okay, many of our guests actually described their first encounter with the library as a memorable moment. How did that moment shape your sense of partnership ahead?
It was a very interesting moment because, in fact, what I found in the Library of Alexandria is like a really a hub of encounters. That means it was like a crossroad of different kind of disciplines, the possibility to be conceived as a platform for discussion, for reflection, for a dialogue. And I think this is the main responsibility and a role of an institution. But for us was extraordinarily important as well to understand the work that the library was doing in terms of the Kulnat initiative, for example. This kind of idea of merging whatever is a cultural resources and natural resources and putting those together, and of course this very important path that you have developed in terms of how to better encapsulate and merging the outstanding biocultural heritage of Egypt. So it is one of the oldest civilization. We have been working with the history of agriculture. We have developed different kind of projects around documentary heritage, the memory of the world. And of course, you are a very big archive, but you have a very big collection, but you are always as well trying to make the bridges with what means a cultural industry, what is the role of the artist nowadays, what is the current artistic and creative expression that continue nurturing the importance of this institution as a lighthouse, as a way to continue promoting the importance of the production of knowledge and the preservation of this knowledge. So I think that you are a cultural hub. You are a window open to different kind of cultures. You are in a space of opportunity for strengthening it even more, the Mediterranean collaboration. And you are at the very end of one of the most important cultural phenomena in the history of humanity, which is the Nile River and the Nile Delta. So I think that it's, for me, the first encounter is not just a kind of a historic library, very important for all the documentation that is hosted here, but a kind of institution that is responsible for continue producing much more knowledge and having the sense of responsibility of enhancing this intercultural dialogue.
I couldn't agree more. And listening to you, the library is not only a center of knowledge, it's also a living platform for dialogue and collaboration. And speaking of the mission, the long shared mission between, the Library of Alexandria and the UNESCO, they both have very similar missions. And looking at what has been achieved in the past and your vision for the future collaboration, what areas do you see are most meaningful where this partnership can grow?
Many. I don't know how many minutes do we have for this question, but really a lot. Okay. So let me tell you that we would like, of course, with all the national authorities involved, we would like to strengthen the importance of the preservation of documentary heritage. You know that we have a very important project of UNESCO, which is called the Memory of the World. So within the Memory of the World, we have very important pieces. That means the beauty of all the Holy Qurans since the Mameluke times, as well as, of course, different kind of pieces that are very well, by the way, very well show off in the national archives in Cairo. We have, of course, a very important contemporary, I would like to say contemporary memories, because the construction of the Suez Canal is something that we live like a contemporary memory as well. And that has been very sophisticatedly driven as a very important part of the history of humanity. That means it was such a monumental endeavor. And but putting together a very special memories about the next frontier in terms of the human capacity to not to be against the nature, but just to work with nature and try to overcome the difficulties of the nature. So that is the Suez Canal, and this is memory of the world. But of course, this country had a lot of memories. Have accumulated enormous amount of memories that that deserve really an international or a regional or a national recognition. I'm thinking, why not in trying to put together. This is a dream, because I'm archaeologist, and this is a dream. You know, the history of archaeology has been written in a very substantial part in Egypt, or because of Egypt. But we have not, within the memories of the world, a very big collection of all the notebook of the main archaeologists since the Napoleon time or even before. So why not to undertake a very important work with the library? So that is one thing. But why not to think together in the best way to create a platform of collaboration with the main archives. So one idea that we have in mind, of course, is just to prepare a big project about one of the most outstanding multilateral cultural documentary memories in the world, which is the Nubian campaign. So the Nubian campaign, all the documentation, not just kept in Egypt, not just in the National Archives, not just in the Nubian Museum, that is a very, very close museum to the role of UNESCO, and not just wherever that has been kept and is registered in Egypt. But you remember there are 50 countries supporting this Nubian campaign since the 60s, and the national libraries of these countries contained a very important documentary memory. Can you imagine the way in which we can provide the humanity of this extraordinary memory? So this is another kind of a step that we can undertake with the technical support of the Library of Alexandria. But let me tell you something. So yesterday and today we are discussing about this kind of Alexandrian memory and identity. So it's not just because of Egypt, it's not just because of the Mediterranean Sea, it's not just because of the music of the writer, no, it's just you have a paramount kind of intercultural heritage. And that is, this is printed in pictures, printed in newspaper. It's driven by music, it's driven by poem and poetry, it's driven by literature. So why not to dream together and to try to undertake a very important future memory of the world based on the intercultural documentary memories of Alexandria. Let's do it together. So that, though that's just some ideas that came to my mind, but of course there are many, many others.
That sounds like a perfect project and immense work, of course, that could be undertaken by both UNESCO and the Bibliotheca Alexandrina. Plus, heritage, preserving heritage today and digitizing archives, we need to rethink about how to protect heritage in the digital age, because there are so many formats, as you mentioned, pictures, poems, and narratives, but they need to be documented in an electronic format and using the new technology, of course.
Mm-hmm. This is a permanent challenge. And we know that. And a permanent challenge needs a permanent dialogue, a professional dialogue. So, and this is provided by UNESCO by different kind of projects, and of course to implement a different kind of recommendations about how to better preserve. The role of UNESCO in putting together the best expertise on that, the way in which we discussed with our partners, institutions, sister and institutions like IFLA or many others, ICOM in the case of the museum, ICOMOS in the case of the documentary memories as well of built heritage and archaeological heritage. So I think this is a permanent dialogue. Of course, partly is driven by new technologies and the role of artificial intelligence in helping us to preserve all of this. Another very important endeavor of UNESCO is to try to provide with the best technical advice, but we know that all the very sophisticated technologies are not affordable for many countries. So how to adapt these kind of new technologies that are affordable and are low cost and of course essential to try to create a balance between different kind of memories. And I think UNESCO is as well taking a very good opportunity in inviting scholars and inviting the best expertise. So UNESCO had this kind of capacity to continue investing in multilateralism, but by keeping this kind of very important force of putting together the expertise. So if you are at UNESCO, you know who you need to call in terms of who is the best in the world just to preserve organic materials. What is the best in the world to preserve this kind of, Holy Quran materials? If you are UNESCO, you can mobilize all of your network as to better understand which are the best selves to preserve whatever kind of manuscript or incunabula which is already been restored. So this is the way in which we used to work. The best scholar expertise at the service of the member states to give them the best possibility to have the best well-informed decision. And in the case of the digitalization, in case of the archives, so we have learned from a lot from different kind of countries, and it seems to me that we need to continue creating a balance between whatever that has been considered like a super high culture and vernacular cultures. So I think I will be, for example, very, very inspired about the vernacular architecture drawing of Hassan Fatih, and to invite each country to try to identify something that has not been considered like a super high culture, that perhaps is not in any national library, but deserves really to be preserved as a documentary memory. Whatever that is, a documentary photographic archive, even if it came from a familiar kind of sources, this is extraordinarily important. So we need to continue preserving the best of the best pieces, as well as to pass the message to continue creating something like a is the best way not to avoid losing knowledge and losing images of our great cultural humanity. So I think this is the way in which UNESCO is growing up in this very technological work, but without forgetting the source of identity that documentary heritage at any level and coming from different kind of sources can provide for the service of this human creativity and human power to continue revealing the diversity of the human cultures and languages.
That naturally brings us to the UNESCO's broader role in the region and the many responsibilities entrusted to the Cairo office. The Cairo office has a very unique mandate in Sudan and Egypt, which are very rich in history, yet facing evolving challenges. What are the priorities of the Cairo office in a region both facing immense opportunities and complex challenges?
Well, I would like to say that the office in Cairo was one of the first office open at the organization. And of course, we are more than 50 offices. In the case of the Arab states, the Cairo Regional Office is not working alone. We are working very closely with our colleagues from Rabat, with our colleagues, of course, for Sudan is part of our main mandate, but as well with Ramallah, with the Doha, with the Amman, with the Beirut, among others. So we are in we are in a network, and of course it's important for us as well is a part of our mandate to be the liaison office with the League of Arab States. That strengthen our capacity as well to be one voice in all region in trying to cooperate regionally. So this is one of the most, let's say, important countries, and I'm not saying just that. So is what is requested by the member states. So our responsibility is to try to cope with these kind of expectations. When we discuss about the origin of the World Heritage Convention, so the very origin of the World Heritage Convention was the Nubian campaign. The very big and the first step of the implementation of the convention at the beginning of the 70s was just to think about of a list of the UNESCO World Heritage Sites. And the first of the first were the pyramids. And this country put at the very beginning of this step, that means the first times of the World Heritage Convention, put at the service of the international community some of the biggest ever sites. And that was really a kind of exemplary action, no? When you look at it's not just the Pyramid of Giza. Giza is a part of an enormous pyramid landscape, perhaps one of the biggest unit, as a unit to be inscribed on the World Heritage List. But imagine the case of Nubia. It made since Abu Simbel up to Komombo, and 17 places from different kind of stages in the history of humanity. Look at Luxor. Is one of the biggest places. When people think that perhaps Machu Picchu or perhaps Angkor Wat, look at Luxor. The two main super big and monumental temples, plus city, plus all which is a productive landscape, and it was a productive landscape. Look at the two main valleys, the Queen Valleys and the King Valleys. Look at Malkata. Think about all the different kind of the cities of the workers. Is an endless story. Is one of the most profound and long-lasting memories of humanity, concentrated and encapsulated in one site. So I think that this is a very important responsibility for us, and more to happen in the tentative list. The tentative list for World Heritage of Egypt is so rich, you have no idea where to start. Tel El Amarna, Abydos, all the long-lasting stories of the oasis. So really a very, very engaging kind of future in terms of World Heritage, and the national authorities knows about our willingness to work with them, what they consider pertinent to support the candidature dossier of this country, and more than happy to continue looking at the success of Egypt in and for the future inscriptions.
Well, culture remains at the heart of the mission of UNESCO, and especially in a country as deeply rooted in heritage as Egypt. And Dr. Sanz, you have worked with many World Heritage sites and intangible cultural heritage in many countries, yet Egypt has a unique, rich and living heritage. From your experience here, what has moved you the most about the way Egyptian communities transmit and safeguard their cultural traditions?
This is a very good question, and my answer will be simple. Is the following. So one of the very key issues of the living living heritage and whatever that is inscribed and recognized by the 2003 Convention of UNESCO, of course, is what happened currently. So, but here you continue experiencing what happened since the very remote times up to now. And this is a very key singularity and uniqueness in the country. If you are looking at the metalworks, if you are looking at the use of the palm trees product, if you are looking at the different kind of traditional theater ways of communicating these very popular stories, if you are looking at the henna, if you are looking at the koshery, so yeah, so it's just recently, but we were back in time. And we proposed at the Tahrir Museum 1 year and a half ago to organize an exhibition. The exhibition was extraordinarily successful, and for us it was really a very important lesson learned. We tried to build the bridges between the very, very old archaeological pieces and the way in which these archaeological manifestations were able to emphasize this long-lasting heritage and legacies. So we use the ostraka, speaking about whatever kind of tradition, written in different kind of languages. We used the very popular games, even figured by the different kind of object in the archaeological collection. We focus our attention as well in papyrus. We discuss about the palm trees and the way in which the use of the palms and the dates were documented. So, it's not very easy to find a way to link what happened thousands of years ago and to see that the tradition and the use of the products and the symbolic value of the pieces continue alive. So this is a miracle. And this is a miracle that is not. It does not depend on technicality. Sometimes it depends of the powerful living heritage and the way in which people consider that continue being meaningful for their own life. And this is the secret of this convention, to continue feeling feeling alike. A feeling in this, you are a part of this continuum, and you are responsible to make this continuum transcendent for the next generation. So that is something that we have strongly experimented in Egypt.
So let's talk about digitizing archives again. It's very essential for safeguarding the humanities documentary heritage, and UNESCO and the Bibliotheca Alexandrina, they both share the same commitment to this mission. What is the broader vision behind UNESCO's efforts to safeguard and digitize these the memory and or the humanities?
The main program, as you know, is a memory of the world. So, but it's not just that. So, I would like to say that UNESCO has like a very three important legs in our pillars in trying to face the challenge of good selection. Because of course we cannot, perhaps we are not in the position, or let's say we are not in the position yet to work like Abi Barburg. I don't know if you know the figure of Abi Barburg. Abi Barburg was the privileged son of a banker, but he decided to collect every single piece to document the past and to transcend for the further generations. It's an impossible task. It's a mission impossible. And of course, I think some of this idea is as well the idea of Borges. No, Borges tried to and of course to tell this kind of story when he's referring to the geographer. No, the geographer was minutiously working, so sophisticated that he tried to reproduce one by one any single space. At the end of the day, the map was the reality. So we need to select. So and in fact, the first pillar of this kind of selection, according to the international kind of standard setting, is the Memory of the World program. That means to incentivize the current idea of continue collecting, no? Because whatever is is part of a candidature of this memory of the world is not just something that is in the shelves and that's it. You need to create a narrative. You need to put together all the pieces. You need to create all the puzzle. And of course, that requires a lot of technicalities and very sophisticated kind of technical work. So, but it's very important to pass a message because at the very end of the day, the memory of the world needed to strengthen a national policy for documentary practices and for documentary heritage. The second pillar, I think, is this permanent dialogue that I commented. No, this kind of why these new technologies, why technologies could be considered obsolete vis-a-vis other technologies that are low cost and perhaps have a longer time span for conservation. So that's another thing. And the third important thing is like we are doing here, crossing documentary memories. That means wherever that is right now living in one country, perhaps it's not completed to finalize the setting of a international, intercultural narrative. So, and that is the power of UNESCO as well, to use whatever kind of platform is suitable for international cooperation. When looking at one example, when I was director of UNESCO in Mexico, it happened that we have a Nobel Prize in Spain. I say we have because I'm Spanish. So we have a very important medicine Nobel Prize that occurred a lot of years ago. But because of the civil war in Spain, some of the most important intellectuals traveled to Mexico. And in Mexico, they develop the discipline, and of course, they created working groups and so on. Well, it happened that the first drawing of all the neuronal systems were made by this Nobel Prize. But the memories were fragmented in terms of documentation and notebooks. Okay, so UNESCO was there just to create the bridges and to put together documentary heritage in Mexico, documentary heritage in Spain, the documentary heritage of the families, and finally, this very important piece of documentary heritage is considered as one of the most remarkable international achievements within this program. So, best technologies, permanent discussion about the life of these technologies, international cooperation, and of course, very well-rooted national policies. I think the three ingredients are what we need, and you can count on our office to continue supporting the role of the Bibliotheca Alexandrina, but of course, we will continue knocking your door to prepare new nominations here and outside Egypt.
Beyond institutions and archives, UNESCO's impact is ultimately measured in people's lives, especially women and girls. Gender equality, of course, is a core pillar of UNESCO's works across education, culture, and science. So how do you see UNESCO's work translating into real change for women and girls across the region?
This is fundamental. That means is absolutely a key in our work. And I start by remembering, of course, any single Secretary General of United Nations had put forward the role of women. That means we will have not healthier societies, and we will not achieve development without the women. And it is not because of the discipline. No. It's because the capacity of keeping a family together, whatever that is related to the transmission of knowledge, the encouragement of women just to populate every single discipline in the academic milieu. So this is fundamental. And UNESCO have two main priorities, which are totally cross-cutting priorities. One is Africa. And it has been always like that. And the second is gender. We have just published, 1 year ago, our new vademecum, just to follow in any single action, in any single program, this kind of, not just a kind of a gender-driven policy, but just even quantitatively. That means I cannot publish a book without taking into consideration that at least 50% of the scholars written are absolutely women. That means it's impossible for me to go ahead with any kind of publication in which I cannot justify that at least 50% of all the readers are women. So I think that is key. With this in mind, it's one of the actions that I'm very proud of, because one of the latest achievement was got like 2 days ago, is something that we started in Alexandria. And I started this at the very beginning of 2023. In collaboration with Dr. Amira Sembal, which is an international prize of UNESCO on science, on women in science. And we have started this with the Alexandria Academia of the League of Arab States from Science, Technology and Maritime Studies. So in 2023, we decided to call a very big, important representation at the United Nations Day of Women in Science in February. And we put together 4 generations of women, very senior and very junior. From the director of the laboratories in one of the most prestigious universities to the champion of robotics in the Olympics for very, very young people. So we tried to put these 4 generations together. We got it with more than 150 women in science, and we were very good listeners. And we asked them, what do you want? What do you need? And they'd say, we need a platform to be very well connected. We need the seniors. One said, I need the millennia because I do not know how to better or have the best advantage of the new technologies, and I would like to, to be advised by them. And the very youth want just ask for mentorship, for a kind of be very well oriented. It was not just a case of a faster kind of career or a fast track just to get more important results, but just to be inspired by others and be advised by others. So we created this, and today we can say that we have a community of more than 263 women working at the platform from Egypt and Sudan with the volunteer to create an Arab regional kind of confederation. And this is not like a platform. This is like a movement. That means, we are creating mentorship. So we have 5 very good scholars selected like ambassador this year, and more to come in 2026. So we have developed different kind of projects, and all of them are not very scientifically oriented projects. Some of the projects are how to get a better balance in your life, like a scientist and like a mother, and how to defend your rights. And that means even how to prepare your better skills for entrepreneurship, or even just for your negotiation capacity. Because we designed this platform not just to support the advice among very, very involved women in science. We try to create the kind of strengths and skills for the women to achieve the decision-making position. Not just to remain as a PhD students, not just to remain there, not just to be a part of the future of the national policies when discussing about high science. And I'm saying high science, and it's not just basic science. The platform is trying to create all the disciplined possibilities and develop a project in which, a geologist is working with a physician, and a specialist in artificial intelligence is working with genetics, and this kind of a crossroad.
Together, all women from different fields of science.
And you can be part of that. So the message here in this very important podcast is just everybody can be part of that, not only women.
To the voices, because that's one of them. I mean, sometimes we don't find scientists. They only work in labs and they don't get this visibility. So giving them a living platform and uniting them together, that's amazing. I really love this project.
It was inspired by this very, very pivotal idea that the science is a public good. That means it's not something that happened because of the ivory towers. And no, it's something that happened because these women are as well inspired about the challenges, the societal challenges. And they consider that if they are not contributing, it's like a sort of a social debt. So, and I think the platform will prepare some of them really to be super international ambassadors of sciences that... yeah. Very good.
Just a more personal note, what moments in your career have most shaped your, commitment to advancing gender equality?
Well, this platform, I think, is one of the most important ones. But I have been to perhaps another two very big projects that I have the chance to develop at UNESCO. Very big ones. So one continues being the biggest nomination ever, and it was related to the Inca Road. So we registered 26,000 kilometers in the Andes. The nomination includes more than 400 archaeological sites. And the atlas of this nomination is composed by more than 1,800 maps. So this is a super robust kind of a work. And I asked my director to create, since the very beginning, I say, okay, well, we cannot go ahead without a very experimented scholar working group. And for me, it's absolutely essential. And of course, when you went to the to the list on scholars, and very predominantly you have male scholars, no? But I was looking further, and I discovered one super important lady, Maria. She was one of my inspiration to go ahead with this. Maria Rostorowski was a very young scholar, but she lost her husband with 5 children, and this lady put forward the major bibliography in the Andes about the history of the Central Andes. So I was inspired by her, and when composing this very important scholar working group, she told me, if I could be you, I will include this and this and this 3 key ladies. So I have always this kind of this in mind. So that means let's put this together. And I think that if we succeeded in this very difficult political, institutional, technical, and diplomatic project involving 6 countries, it was because of the role of women from the highest position at the academia, but taking care of including the memories of the women peasant, the women farmers in the Andes. So, and it was really, really very important. The second one is I had the chance to develop for more than 15 years this very important project called Heads, about the human evolution. I'm paleoanthropologist by career. And we put together a network of more than 300 scholars from all over the world. And we published 7 volumes about the future of the human evolution as one of the main kind of entry points for future multilateral cooperation. I put together all of them in trying to design the future of what could enter into the World Heritage List as a very vulnerable, not monumental, but fundamental memories and sites to keep all of our, let's say, the origin of our cultural diversity. Well, with that, I started by the same kind of guidelines. So let's see who is who and who are the women that have been involved in this kind of endeavor. And I selected the three of them, and any volume and any kind of more than the 20 big international conference that we put forward just to create this kind of a multidisciplined initiative. So we're women. And there is no one single volume in which more than the 50% of the contributors are women.
I love that, because bringing women on board in a male-dominated field, because science is, of course, it's a stereotypical image that scientists should be males and archaeologists as well. So that's amazing.
I learned a lot for a very, very young children. Little girl, a girl no more than 4 years old. And we met a survey, and we met because when I received a long time ago a written survey about why the children are so different according to the teaching experience. So and it happened to me that when I received the survey, so more than the 60% of the children population, if men, were very, very good in mathematics, and the ladies, the little girls, were very, very, very good in languages skills and many other things. And when you ask a little girl about why does she think that it happened, the little girl said, if you are asking me why I'm not good in mathematics, this is because I'm a girl. And this is totally unacceptable. That means we cannot continue with this kind of vision. And I asked to meet this girl. And when I met her, I remember very well the encounter. And she told me, well, because when last year, I have I receive like a didactic material. And within the didactic material, I saw the girls playing with toys. And I saw the men like dressed with a laboratory kind of white laboratory dress, no? That is a stereotype that we need to correct immediately, because we cannot continue thinking that a kind of a gender oriented dynamic can justify this kind of differences in society since the very beginning. So that made me learn very quickly, and we have prepared a very important national program and a national campaign just to avoid this kind of thinking. And to educate not only the kids just to express themselves and to go beyond stereotypes, is just to teach as well the parents not to try to continue this kind of obstacles, no, and try to create the conditions for a very, very big freedom of selection according to your talent, and the talent, of course, is not driven by gender.
I totally agree. I couldn't agree more. Well, let's move to a milestone, a significant milestone, which is for the UNESCO itself, which is the 80th anniversary. It offers an opportunity to look back at what have been achieved in the past and decades of global impact. What do you consider the organization's most significant achievements over the past 8 decades?
With no doubts, and this is a kind of a uniqueness as well of UNESCO, is the kind of super robust architecture of a standard setting text. So the way in which the international community at the go decided to approve rules and regulations that are commonly and equally being implemented for any single human being on the Earth planet. So this is an amazing kind of achievement. If you have a look to all of the conventions of UNESCO, if you have a look to the 6 main conventions of the cultural sector of UNESCO, if you look at the power of the recommendation of artificial intelligence, so the ethics of artificial intelligence put forward by our organization, I think I would like to say that there is no kind of concurrence. So nobody can compete really with this very important task of UNESCO. So bioethics, education conventions, all the recommendations, all the declarations. So, we have a very, very good palimpsest of standard setting text, starting for the declaration up to an international treaty. So, and I think this is like the selves of the Library of Alexandria. That means it's something that order the capacity of implementation of the general rules for everybody all over the world. And this is something that will continue in our organization according to the member states, because we are at the service of the member states. This is one of the most important achievements. I think another important achievement and we have received, 24 hours ago, some of the final results of the deliberations in New York. And you know that culture is like a driven of development, is like an enabler of development. And that has been considered finally for all member states that met in New York, and they are trying to overcome this difficulty of not having considered culture within this current development agenda. But we used to say at UNESCO that culture is not in any specific entry point of the 17 goals of the agenda, but is because culture is everywhere. Okay, we do not need to have one just to understand the importance of culture. The last, I would like to say that one of the most important achievements in terms of culture is driven by the fact that we have started organizing these very important international meetings that are called Mondiacult. And this is a very important achievement, because right now all the ministers of culture from all over the world knows that there is a meeting and they need to present results. It's not just something like only the conventions. No, we need to work together just to continue trusting culture as an enabler for development. A very important, I would like to say, achievement of our organization in terms of education is that we are the custodians of the SDG 4. And perhaps we need to celebrate as well the role of the Institute for Statistics of UNESCO. I think we are the providers of data to the rest of the world about what is happening with the education of rates, and all the reports of UNESCO. The GEM report of UNESCO is like a tracking the advances and the way in which international cooperation need to push some specific skills or policies just to support the role of education, because this is the future. In the case of sciences, the report of UNESCO, the big report of science, our role in creating a healthier planet because of our trust in protecting natural areas, biosphere reserves, more than 700 from all over the world. The last meeting of the biosphere reserves in Hangzhou in China some weeks ago put together more than 4,000 experts. UNESCO is able to show that we have a cartography of UNESCO, World Heritage Sites, biosphere reserves, geoparks. So I'm not saying that the rest of the agencies are not doing a great job. On the contrary, but we have this hotspot. We have these laboratories to operate internationally. So, and I think that is one of the greatest achievements of UNESCO, without forgetting our role of course, to preserve the memories of the world, and the role that has been developed of our sector of communication and information. Right now, of course, being at the very, very front of the international community in preserving the freedom of expression, in combating, of course, the misinformation and disinformation. And this is a very big role, and I think we have a great achievement. So we feel strong. We feel strong enough as to continue this path, to continue collaborating closely and closer with the rest of the UN agencies, and of course to actively engage in this discussion about not just UNESCO 80s, but UN 80s, and ready to continue contributing with the best expertise in the world.
I'm a huge fan of UNESCO, and I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. Finally, we would like to address a message or look at the future, the young, represented by the young people of the region, who are navigating a rapidly changing world today. What message would you like to share with the young people in Egypt, Sudan, and across the region who look to UNESCO for guidance, hope, and inspiration?
Well, my lesson learned from the Arab world is being here in Egypt. So with this super powerful and big community, having a society that is very young, for more than the 60% of the population. Can you imagine how lucky the Minister of Education is and the Minister of Higher Education is? Because proportionally, you have an enormous amount of talent at the disposal of development. I would like to say that my message is to have a lot of trust in whatever is transcending the national level. The role of the 27 governorates in Egypt, the role of the teachers. So I think it's absolutely amazing. So the capacity of passing the message, the capacity of the 300 schools associated to UNESCO, I think they are the main ambassadors of our work, because honestly, we need a very strong youth generations to continue, with this kind of achievement. So, but I have been very lucky over the last more than 3 years working in Egypt, and to feel absolutely responsible of which are the needs for this enormous learning and teaching communities in Egypt. So I think it's extraordinarily important to communicate the preservation of diversity. I think it's very important to communicate that they have a unique civilization backwards, and they should be, the main ambassadors of putting forward not only the pharaonic memories, but whatever happened before. So what happened in this holy land for cultural diversity, in the transition from the Pleistocene to Holocene more than 10,000 years ago, those are memories that needed to be better studied and needed to be better communicated to the world. And we needed that whatever that is related to Egyptian civilization, try as well to include all the past memories, but because are super relevant and significant for continuing creating this kind of confidence that we have in the cultural diversity as a driver for development and as a driver for peace. We need in 2026 a better message. We need to live in peace, and perhaps as well my lesson learned of this country is that regardless what happened around, peace for Egypt and the role of Egypt in keeping peace has been absolutely fundamental. And this is something that goes beyond the recommendations and gone beyond the convention and goes beyond the World Heritage Site. So the collective construction of peace and this very Egyptian forever message about peace. This is something that sustained really all the UN system and the kind of main drivers of UNESCO. So always a message of gratitude to all the national authorities, to all the peoples in Egypt, because this is a super great country and we feel privileged to serve our institution here.
Dr. Nuria Sanz, I loved talking to you, and thank you for your insights and vision and for sharing those wonderful inspirational words. I thank you again for coming, and it's a great pleasure to have you here with us in the BA podcast. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And please convey the message of gratitude to your director, to all team of the library. Great memories and more to come. And we are really, really grateful to have this very successful collaboration. And we will continue thinking about that the light and the lighthouse of Alexandria is this very important library, projecting, of course, the message of peace and the message of knowledge to the rest of the international community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.